Welcome to the Unit 3 test review. So for the first part, we are going to solve by factoring. And with factoring, we need to move all the terms to one side, which in number 1 we already have all the terms to one side. We're going to do A times C that are going to add to B. So A times C equals 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. We're going to do what two numbers multiply to negative 6 that will add up to the B, which is a positive 1. And that is 3 and negative 2. Those are your two numbers you're going to use in the Punnett square. A term is in the top left, C term is bottom right. We have 3 and negative 2. They have to add up to the middle term, so you're going to have to add n's on those, because 3n plus 2n, or negative 2n, or 3n minus 2n is 1n. Now we're going to take out the greatest common factors of each row. So the bottom row, greatest common factor is 3. Top row, greatest common factor is n. The first column, or the last column, we'll do that one, is 2. And the last column, or the first column, is n. Now when it comes to positives and negatives, if the top right is a negative, that will make this 2 here a negative. So the greatest common factor is always negative. And if the bottom left is a positive, that will make the 3 a positive. The top left is always, these are always, n's always positive, n's always positive. So our factors are n minus 2 and n plus 3. And that's going to equal 0. And from there, we're going to set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So we have n equals 2, so you add 2, so we subtract 3, we get negative 3. Number 2, we're going to look at greatest common factor here is 4. So I'm going to divide, so GCF is 4. Divide each term by 4. We get x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. The greatest common factor does not have a variable with it, so we don't have to worry about that with solving. We're going to do the A is 1, the B is negative 5, and the C is negative or positive 6. So do A times C is 6 and adds up to B. So this is A times C and this is B. What two numbers multiply to 6 that add up to negative 5? That one's a confusing one, but it really is negative 2 and negative 3. Those multiply to 6. They add up to negative 5. Let's do the Punnett square. Top left is the A term, bottom right is C term. And put the negative 2 with the B, so negative 2 and negative 3, x. Greatest common factor of bottom row is 2. Top row is x. Last column is 3, and the first column is x. Now, greatest common, because of the negative 3, it's going to be a negative. Because of the negative 2, it'll be a negative. So my factors are x minus 3 and x minus 2. Set them equal to 0. Set each factor equal to 0, because if either factor equaled 0, the whole equation would be 0. So we get x equals 3 and x equals 2. All right, number 3, we need to move all the terms to one side. So we get v squared plus 10v plus 24 equals 0. We got our no greatest common factor, so we'll do A times C. So 1 times 24 is 24. Adds up to B. And what two numbers multiply to 24 that add up to 10? That's 6 and 4. We're going to use those in a Punnett square now. So the Punnett square, we have v squared, 24 in the bottom right, 6v and 4v. Greatest common factor of the bottom row is 6, top row is v, first column is v, last column is 4. Because it's positive 4, that's going to be a plus. Because it's positive 6, the 6 will be positive. Let's set, so here's our factors. Set them each equal to 0. And you got your solutions. All right, number 4. There is a greatest common factor here, and this actually is the only problem that is like this, whereas the greatest common factor of x squared divided by x is x, 8x divided by x is 8. Now, there's no quadratic left, so we do not have to do any kind of factoring. This is all the factoring you needed. There are two factors that have x's in them. The first is x equals 0. There's one of our solutions. X is going to equal 0. The other is x minus 8 equals 0. That's the other factor. And solve, you add 8, you get x equals 8. Number 5, we have no greatest common factor. We have our a, b, and c. We do a times c, it's 15, what adds up to negative 16. That is, multiplies to negative 15, so that's negative 15 and negative 1. Multiply to 15, but add up to negative 16. So we have 5p squared, we have a positive 3, that's our a and c term. Negative 15p and negative 1p are going to add up to your b term. Greatest common factor of the bottom row is 3, top row is p, last column is 1, first column is 5p. Now it's a negative 1, so minus, it's a negative 15, so minus. So we have 5p minus 1 and p minus 3. Those are our factors of the quadratic. We have 5p minus 1 equals 0 and p minus 3 equals 0. Solve them both. You'll add 1, divide by 5. You get p equals 1/5. And you add 3, you get p equals 3. Last, or number 6, we have greatest common factor is 2. So 2 times 2b squared minus 15b plus 7 equals 0. The greatest common factor does not have a variable with it, so that is not going to be part of our used in our solution. A is 2, b is negative 15, and c is 7. So we do a times c, which is 14, adds up to negative 15. Oh man, that's the same one as the last one. Negative 14 and negative 1. Multiply to positive 14, add to negative 15. Top right term is 2b squared, bottom right is 7. We have a negative 14b and negative 1b. Bottom row 7, top row is b, first column is 2b, last column is 1. Negative 1, so minus 1, negative 14, so minus 7. You have 2b minus 1 is one of your factors, and b minus 7 is your other factor. Set them both equal to 0. So add 1, divide by 2, you get 1/2. Add 7, you get 7. There are your two solutions. All right, number 7. Whoa. We have minus 7r squared, and I'm minusing 7r squared because 19 minus 7 is still 12. That's a positive a value. So I want to keep that positive, so that's going to be 12r squared minus 32r plus 16 equals 0. Greatest common factor is 4. Divide each term by 4. I think that's right, so we're going to make sure. So it's 3r squared minus 8r plus 4 equals 0. 3, 8, and 4. Nothing more is divisible, so 4 was our greatest common factor. I'm going to do, I got a, b is negative 8, c is 4. Do a times c, so that's 12. What two numbers that will multiply to 12? That'll add up to negative 8 to the b. And that is negative 6 and negative 2. Negative 6 and negative 2. We have top left, we have 3r squared. Bottom right is 4. And we have the b is going to be negative 8r, so we're going to have negative 6r and negative 2r because those add up to negative 8r. The bottom row, the greatest common factor is 2. Top row is r. Last column is 2. First column is 3r. It's a negative 2r, so minus 2. It's a negative 6, so minus 2. We have 3r minus 2 as a factor, and r minus 2 as a factor. Set them both equal to 0. And solve. So we add 2, divide by 3, you get 2/3. And add 2, you get 2. And the last problem, number 8. We're going to subtract 27r. No like terms. So 7r squared minus 27r plus 18 equals 0. Greatest common factor? There isn't one. That's a big number. All right. So we do a times c, so 7 times 18. So is that 70, 56, 126? What adds up to negative 27? And I don't actually know off the top of my head, so I'm going to show you how to get this. I have 7 times 18. So 7 times 18, that'll add up to 25. We need negative 27. So I'm just thinking positive now, because the two numbers have to multiply to a positive number, so that we know they're both going to be negative. So I'm just going to think both positive for now. I'm going to take 18 and divide by 2. That's going to give me 9. And then I'm going to take 7 and multiply by 2. That'll give me 14. 14 plus 9, though, is going to be 23, so that is not correct. I'm going to take, let's see, 18, we're going to divide that by 3. So that's 6. 7 times 3 is 21. So 21 times, that adds up to 27. So if we have a negative and a negative, we got them. So negative 21 and negative 6. Those are my two numbers. So top left is going to be A term, C term in the bottom right. We have negative 21 and negative 6, and they're going to add up to the B term. So we have bottom row is going to be the greatest common factor is 3. Top row is R. Last column is 6. First column is 7R. You have a negative and a negative 21, so it's negative 3. So you have 7R minus 6 is a factor. R minus 3 is a factor. And we're going to set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So you're going to add 6, divide by 7, you get R equals 6/7. And we get, add 3, and you get R equals 3. Alright, moving on, second page. Solve quadratic by the square root method. So if you see in the problem that there is only one variable, you always can solve by square roots. So here we're going to square root, whoa, I don't want to do highlighter. Square root A squared, square root. Anytime you square root, you have a positive and negative. You have A equals a positive and negative square root of 50, negative 52. We need to simplify that. 52 is divisible by, what is it divisible by? 4 is the biggest perfect square, so that's going to be the square root of 4, square root of negative 1, and the square root of 13. 4 times 13 is 52. So this is going to end up being 2i square root of 13. Positive and negative 2i square root of 13 is your solution. All right, number 10. Oh, the a did not come through. That should be 64a squared. I believe. I don't actually have the answer here, or the packet. So I'm going to solve. Divide by 64. That's going to work out real nice. 64 divided by 64 is 1. When you square root, you have a positive and a negative. You get a equals a positive 1 and a negative 1. Number 11. Oh wait, why is that? That's the same problem. So just skip it. Number 12. I multiply by 9 first. So you're doing reverse order of operations for the problem. When you square root, you have a positive and negative. So you have a positive and negative 6. You gotta break this into two problems. X says there's more operations to work out. So you have x minus 4 equals 6 and x minus 4 equals negative 6. X equals 10. X equals negative 2. Now number 13, we have the square on the outside now, so we have the square root first. You have x minus 4 divided by 9 equals a positive and negative 2. Break that into two problems because we have more operations to do before we get to the final answer. So we have the plus minus, but we have to do more operations to it. Multiply by 9, multiply by 9. Add 4. You get x equals 22. Here we're going to multiply by 9. And a lot of people think it's always just a positive and negative, and it's not the case when you have more operations left. It's not just a positive 22 and a negative 22, but a positive 22 and a negative 14. All right, number 14. Order of operations, reverse order. You should subtract 3 first. Then we got to multiply by the reciprocal. Still got the square hanging out there. 6 times 3 is 18. Divided by 1 times 2 is 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Square root. That worked out well. You have 5x minus 1 equals a positive and negative 3. We have more work to be done on that plus minus 3, so we break it into two problems. And solve. So you get 4/5 as an answer, and we get negative 2/5 as an answer. All right, for C, we have, actually we'll end it with B today, and I'll put out a new video for C, D, and E.